totally held that.
I'm just saying, like, you were an engineer, and right?
Background is mechanical engineering.
All right, we'll get into that right now.
Formal background.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Windy City. You're here at the Sporlan booth with Sporlan's own D Money, and he's going to explain why he's D Money, because I was kind of curious about this. And D Money's going to talk about his past. So let's about what he's as far as what he does for Sporlan, and some of his responsibilities and some of the other organizations that you're actually involved with.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
So when we were talking about this last night, doing a podcast today, wanted to kind of talk about some of the technical topics, but we'll start out with a little bit about me. My name is Dustin Searcy. I've been with Parker Sporlan for 17 and a half years in a variety of different roles. Started out in sales engineering and moved into application engineering. So that's where I had said before, Brett, that yes, I have had titles of engineer in the past, but when it comes to making sure this mic doesn't flip over into my lap, I couldn't figure that out.
Electrical engineering, not really mechanical, or it is mechanical.
Mine's mechanical.
I'm taking it away now. Was it ME or P?
That's the ME.
Okay, all right.
No. I'm not a professional engineer by any stretch.
Neither am I. I fake it. I fake it all the time.
But as I said, several different roles on the sales and marketing side. A few years ago, when I got to meet you guys, I was managing our marketing team.
Yep.
And over the last year, I've transitioned into an operations role. I manage the refrigeration business unit for the Sporlan division, and that is the commercial refrigeration business, as well as industrial refrigeration and our controls, electronic controls. So I work with those teams and kind of help with putting together the strategies, where we want to go, what kind of products we want to bring to market. We look at what the needs are from our customers and making sure we can get those products to market. And whether it's a new product or a product that we've had for many years, making sure we can do that as quickly as possible and get them out into our customers' hands where they need them most.
You never explained the D Money yet. I'm still curious about the D Money.
Okay, well the D is because of my first name, Dustin.
Okay.
Now the money part came down when we go to lunch sometimes. We'd play the credit card roulette game. Everybody throws a credit card in, and the waitress at the end of the meal decides that she's going to pick whoever's going to be.
Do you have the shiniest one? Is that why it gets picked all the time?
No, but anytime there was 8, 10, 12 people at the table, I seemed to be the lucky person that was picking up the bill. And so D Money was a term of endearment for everyone who got a free lunch that day.
All right, now I know how to get a free lunch whenever I'm down here at the Sporlan. So I'm straight. I won't have to eat ever again.
Yeah. If you can get 12 people and have me come with you, there's a good chance to get a free lunch.
I know what I'm doing next time. Awesome. So what are we talking about? You said something about ASLs. No, that's American Sign Language. No, A2Ls.
A2L.
Okay, yeah. A2Ls. Let's talk about A2Ls.
Those mildly flammable refrigerants.
I think they get a lot of hate.
There's a demand in the industry. There's a lot of changes going on, and with that, new refrigerants and customers, end users, OEMs, manufacturers, contractors, everybody's trying to figure out what are we going to do. And with lower GWP refrigerants required, the A2Ls have a place, it appears. So with that, there's some extra requirements from UL. And our team has been working hard to meet those requirements and make sure that our products are going to meet those needs. So
have the final stipulations actually come out yet? Because I was just talking to another manufacturer down the road here, and I literally mean down the road because this place is so freaking far. But I was talking to him, and he's like, "You ready for A2Ls?" He's like, "Because we're not." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, the government still hasn't made the final decision on things that I guess for the manufacturers."
I know our team's been working very closely and following any changes. It seems like we feel like we've got a path to what we need to do for our products, and we're bringing out some new products for the A2Ls. So I know last week, and I speak in terms of UL and meeting the UL requirements. We've got many projects underway with UL to make sure that our products are certified to the new UL standards. And with that, we just got some formal confirmations that we got some products that were formally accepted last week, and we're working through many different projects. So right now, making sure we have those certifications.
Well, you're also on the board of the NASRC, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm involved with the NASRC as well.
All right. So what are some of the guidelines that, like, some of the stipulations that you have to do? Like, I at first I thought, like, I heard the equipment has to have its own leak detection system. You give me a look like I'm saying something wrong. No, is that right?
Well, so for A2L,
Yes.
A2L systems,
Yes.
there is a certain point where they do have to have a leak mitigation type of system, so a sensor and some sort of something that is going to determine that there is a leak there.
Yeah.
And then there's actions to be taken up for the refrigeration system.
Yeah, like you guys have your solenoid valves that have less than 1 pound they can shut, even if there's less than 1 pound. Like, you know, I saw the body looks even different than a regular skin retent.
Is that a requirement for the poundage of the unit, like how many pounds it has?
So for very small systems, my understanding is that action of closing something off and isolating the charge of refrigerant of the A2L, that's not required on very small systems. But there's a threshold where you have to have those actions being taken. It's not unlike the air conditioning market where they have to take some mitigating actions if there is a leak with A2Ls as well. So yeah, the whole industry is working through this, trying to come out with the designs, what this looks like. And there's interest from OEMs and some end users I know that are interested in seeing what the A2Ls look like. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of development that's going on over this calendar year so that people are going to be ready and ready to go come January of 2025.
I feel like it's all blown out of proportion though, like the flammability. It doesn't seem like it's that.
The classification, the A2L classification is relatively new. It's only been out for a couple of years, and really it has to do with, I think, these refrigerants. It's not as flammable as propane, and so I think there still has to be some actions that have to be taken. That's what the industry has determined, but it's not. I think the risk is less, like I say, versus propane. I will also say in refrigeration here, the actions, like we said, we want to make sure that the charge there is not going to continue to come through where there might be a leak and fill a volume of a space. So if it's a refrigeration cooler, freezer, walk-in, whatever it might be, you wouldn't want all that to accumulate in and get to a point where it could be hazardous. And so that's why additional valves that meet these stringent requirements are required. We do have a couple of valves here at the show that we are showcasing in our refrigeration section. And as you said, it looks a lot like a solenoid valve, but it's got some special characteristics to it. And Brett, you said that one of those characteristics is the fact that it doesn't require that pressure drop in order for it to close. It's exactly right. The requirement here is the valve has to be able to close. A typical solenoid valve would typically have to have a minimum of 1 psi pressure drop across it. And in order to get the pressure drop, you have to have flow. And if a system didn't have flow, that valve won't necessarily go closed. And so when I speak of that, that's the floating piston style of solenoid valves. With that, when we think about the A2L requirements here, we want to make sure that the valve would definitely close even if there was no flow. And so we have developed a product that meets the stringent leak requirements, the low leak rates, and we've redesigned the product so that it meets those needs. And so from the outside, looks a lot like just maybe a standard solenoid valve, but internally and from a manufacturing standpoint, tolerances that we hold, the internals, the design of it, it's all new, and it's designed specifically for this application. The top of the valve, the nameplate on it, on a Sporlan solenoid valve, it's always a blue nameplate and got the model number in there. For these shutoff valves, it has a yellow nameplate, and it also carries the UL mark on there as well, which a lot of our other products.
SSO, I saw there, like, the model number.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I was kind of confused about is, like, I don't know, like, I thought, like, everything had to be redesigned with A2Ls, right? So when I saw the solenoid, I saw it has a regular conventional MKC1 coil on it. And I was kind of confused because I thought maybe it would have been a little bit beefier as far as the insulation around the coil, or at least, just, like, if you crack that plastic, you can actually see. I think you're supposed to. I'm just saying, like, you can physically see there's not that much plastic around that. I thought, like, maybe being able to utilize things else, like, you would have a little bit more beefier plastic, or a little bit, almost like a higher NEMA rating, you know what I mean? So you wouldn't potentially have any, like, ignition. If that makes any sense.
As we've gone through the design cycle with that and looked at the requirements of that and worked with UL on it, we determined that the standard coil is perfect in that application. So we don't have any concern there, but focus was all around utilizing what we could from an existing design and focusing our efforts on what needed to change.
Yeah.
And so that's where the internals really came from.
Well, so how does it work then with electric defrost? I mean, is there any special things like? Like, I still keep hearing A2Ls, but I don't know, like, pressures. Like, I don't know if that, the 454, I'd have to look at a PT chart. If that was designed for a medium temp, it was designed to work for both medium and low temp.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, can we actually have electric defrost heaters with A2Ls?
So I believe that systems are being designed with electric defrost because I know that we're doing low temp and medium temps, coolers and freezers. I believe both are being worked on by OEMs.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you use hot gas, and hot gas in single systems is
You have to have a little different valves.
yeah. I mean, it would be a lot more work to use hot gas in a single system.
That's a very special system.
Yes, yeah. I mean, using electric defrost, we pretty much have to. So
Yeah, and in the event that you had to actuate that solenoid because the leak is sensed, there's actually another valve in the suction line. So you'd have a valve in the liquid line that would close off the flow, and then you also would have a valve in the suction line. You might have a distance in your suction line between your compressor and that evaporator, and depending on how much refrigerant's in there, if you had a leak, you could have refrigerant that migrates back into the evaporator to that leak point, bringing more refrigerant in. So there's actually a second valve that's typically that we've shown here at the show. It looks a whole lot like a standard check valve, but it also meets all of these requirements with very tight seat leaks.
So no, it's not. So it's not an electromechanical valve. It's just a mechanical. It's technically just a check valve.
The second valve that I mentioned is a mechanical, very tightly seating, low seat leak rates on that product. But yeah, it's check valve design.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll use both of them together for A2L systems.
So essentially, just if you have a leak inside your walk-in box, the liquid line solenoid will shut, and then theoretically, if it is leaking from that component, anything from the suction line back to wherever that liquid line solenoid would be right before the expansion valve. We do that a lot with systems now, and just basically trap it so someone doesn't, get asphyxiated from, like, being in a box that does a leak if it does sense it.
And let's say that leak is catastrophic, that between those two valves, that could go all the way down to ambient pressure, but you wouldn't lose the refrigerant on the other sides of either of those devices. And that's the goal.
Correct.
Yep.
Any other stuff you want to bring up with the A2Ls? Any other guidelines that you hear coming down the pipe? Or
I think for people that are interested in them, there is a lot of focus and people that are looking at some equipment designs for this requirement. So if you got those needs out in the market, reach out to your equipment manufacturers, and we're looking forward to having these products on the market here very shortly. Already got some samples out there, working with some of the OEM customers, and it'll be commercially available here in the coming weeks.
all right. You have any more questions, Kev, or you all questioned out?
no question out.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you probably in another live stream in a little bit.
Thanks, guys.